They were supposed to be protected. This place was called a nursing home, a place where families believe their parents will be safe, a place where the elderly are meant to rest, a place of care, dignity, and peace. But in Arkansas, that belief slowly collapsed. Behind clean walls and quiet corridors, there was neglect, not loud, not dramatic, silent. Residents were left waiting, waiting for water, waiting for help, waiting for someone to notice they were still alive. Some could not walk, some could not speak, some could not even lift their hands. Their call buttons were placed too far away. Their voices were ignored. Minutes turned into hours. Hours turned into nights. Beds were not changed. Food trays were left untouched. Pain went unanswered. Families visited. They saw smiles. They heard calm reassurances. Everything looked fine. But what they did not see was what happened after the doors closed. Understaffed shifts, exhausted caregivers, untrained workers left alone with fragile lives. Medical charts were incomplete. Warning signs were ignored. Complaints were dismissed. Residents cried for help. Some stopped crying. Some became silent. Some never woke up again. Later investigations revealed this was not a single mistake. It was a pattern, a system failing again and again. People who survived wars, people who raised families, people who lived full lives. They were reduced to room numbers, to files, to forgotten names. This was not supposed to happen. Not here, not to them, and yet it did. Because no one was watching closely enough. Because silence is easy to ignore until it is too late. They trusted this place with their lives. Many residents had no visitors, no one checking on them, no one asking questions. Some were restrained, not because they were dangerous, but because it was easier than caring. Others were left alone for hours, in soiled beds, in cold rooms, in silence. Bruises appeared, broken bones were explained away as accidents. Weight dropped rapidly, dehydration became common, medical attention was delayed, sometimes denied completely. When families raised concerns, they were told everything was normal, that aging looks like this, that confusion is expected. But confusion does not cause bruises. Aging does not explain neglect. Internal reports showed repeated warnings. Staff shortages were documented. Complaints were logged and ignored. Regulators came and went. Fines were issued. Nothing changed. Residents kept suffering. Some begged caregivers not to leave the room. Some clutched photographs of their children. Some whispered prayers into the dark. They were afraid, not of death, but of being forgotten. This was not care. This was abandonment. And it was happening behind doors meant to protect. The truth did not come out immediately. It never does. For months, everything stayed quiet. No headlines, no sirens, no public outrage. Only paperwork, only reports, only small notes buried in files. Then one family refused to stay silent. They noticed the weight loss, the fear in their mother's eyes, the way she flinched when touched. They asked questions. They demanded answers. And slowly, cracks appeared. Former employees began to speak. Some anonymously, some shaking with fear. They described chaos, overcrowded rooms, patients stacked like tasks, not people. Training was minimal, supervision was rare, mistakes were covered up, medications were skipped, records were altered, incidents went unreported. One nurse admitted she cried in her car every night. Another said she quit after witnessing something she could not forget. Investigators finally stepped in. What they found was disturbing. Patterns of neglect, repeated violations, ignored warnings. This was not one bad day. This was a system breaking people quietly. Residents were not protected. They were managed, minimized, forgotten. And by the time the truth surfaced, for some, it was already too late. The investigation changed everything. What was once denied was now documented. Inspections confirmed what families feared. Neglect, abuse, systemic failure. Fines were issued. Licenses were questioned. Public statements were released. But for many families, none of that felt like justice. Because apologies do not bring people back. Reports do not erase suffering. And consequences came too late. Some residents survived, but they were not the same. Trust was broken. Fear remained. Silence lingered. Families asked themselves one question. How could this happen in a place meant to protect the vulnerable? The answer was painful. Because neglect does not always look violent. Sometimes it looks ordinary, routine, ignored. This case forced change. Stricter inspections, new regulations, more oversight. But the damage was already done. Behind every statistic was a human life, a parent, a grandparent, a story that ended quietly. This was not just a failure of a facility. It was a failure of attention, of responsibility, of care. And it leaves us with a warning. Protection is not promised by walls,
or names, or contracts.
it only exists
When someone is truly watching,